فاصدع بأمرك إنه الإسلام قد عاد يعلو ناشرا نور الهدى
رددوا الله أكبر إنه النصر المبين إنها خلافة البشرى ووعد ويقين إنه النصر المؤزر من إله العالمين فاصدحوا في كل.
As we told you last week, the Iraqi city of Ramadi fell into the hands of the Islamic State terrorist group. Ramadi, the capital of Anbar province, very important province, the largest in Iraq, borders Jordan. Bad news, and of course thousands of refugees streaming out of Ramadi trying to get into Baghdad. They were kept out bizarrely. Here, let me show you a quick clip from Al Jazeera, which is a radical Qatari-based news organization. This is an interesting clip. They quote a guy saying it's so bad, it's worse even than what those dastardly Jews would do. Here, take a listen to this clip.
ISIL's takeover of Ramadi city has caused a humanitarian crisis, and the fear is it will only get worse.
The Jews didn't do this to the Palestinians. Children, women, families were crammed all together and people couldn't breathe. Some died.
So that's a real life problem. It's a military problem, it's a terrorism problem, it's a foreign affairs problem. At the same time as these refugees were fleeing Ramadi in the Islamic State, Barack Obama, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States, was giving a speech to the U.S. Coast Guard cadets, who are a branch of the U.S. military. Here's what he said was the leading threat. He not only said that explicitly, but it was the dominant theme of his speech to the cadets. Here's what he thinks is behind all this terrorism in Syria and Iraq and even Nigeria. Take a listen.
Around the world, climate change increases the risk of instability and conflict. Understand, climate change did not cause the conflicts we see around the world. Yet what we also know is that severe drought helped to create the instability in Nigeria that was exploited by the terrorist group Boko Haram. It's now believed that drought and crop failures and high food prices helped fuel the early unrest in Syria, which descended into civil war in the heart of the Middle East.
Really? So you've got the Boko Haram terrorists in Nigeria, mass rape, mass slavery, mass killing, and it's because of droughts, and those droughts are because of global warming, and that's because of carbon dioxide. Is that really what you're blaming? And in Syria, that food prices started a civil war? You know, there's a drought in California, there's a drought here, there's a drought there. That doesn't lead to terrorism. Only Barack Obama would try to blame terrorism on global warming and try to tell U.S. Coast Guard cadets that that's what they got to focus on. But let me say, even if we take Barack Obama at face value, even if we accept that man-made carbon dioxide emissions are causing global warming, that global warming is causing droughts, that droughts cause terrorism, even if we accept that syllogism, which every step of that is in question, listen to what he says is a reason Americans should act. Take a listen to this.
Over the past century, the world sea level rose by about 8 inches. That was in the last century. By the end of this century, it's projected to rise another 1 to 4 feet. It's estimated that a further increase in sea level of just 1 foot by the end of this century could cost our nation $200 billion.
So things are so bad, says Barack Obama, that by the end of the century, that is 85 years from now, the sea level will rise 12 inches. Now, there's no proof of that at all. Of course, the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says there has been no global warming in 18 years. But even Barack Obama, if he was right, if he could predict in the year 2100, 85 years from now, that the sea level would rise 12 inches, even he says the total cost of this is $200 billion. Now, that does sound like a lot of money, but in any one year, the U.S. government budget, the federal government, is $4 trillion. So for the next 85 years, $4 trillion a year, accounting for inflation, $200 billion over the course of 85 years, that works out to just about $2 billion a year, which isn't even 0.1% of the U.S. budget. That is what Barack Obama thinks is the crisis. needing solutions. What's the cost of losing Ramadi itself? How much money did the U.S. military spend to conquer Ramadi from the terrorists 10 years ago, only to hand it up? Surely more than $2 billion. Barack Obama is an unserious president in serious times. For TheRebel.media, I'm Ezra Levant.